Welcome to our video lesson on solving multi-step equations. In this video, we're going to look at equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign, like this, and then we're going to solve for y. Let's get started. These two triangles have the same perimeter. Determine the value of x that will make it true. So I like problems like this because I think of them kind of like a puzzle. So we know that the perimeter, or the distance around the outside of these two triangles, is equal. So what that must mean is that whatever the sum of 3x plus 3x plus 3x, or each side of this triangle, whatever that is equal to has to be equal to 4x plus 4x plus 3x minus 4. Now this may look really overwhelming and like there's a lot of steps to do. However, the one really nice thing about this is that there's lots of like terms in here. So all of these three are like terms that we can combine. Also on the other side, these are also like terms that we can combine. So our next step is to combine our like terms. So 3x plus 3x plus 3x is 9x. And that is equal to 4x plus 4x plus 3x. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So 9x is equal to 11x minus 4. All right, now we have x's on both sides of our equation. And in order to be able to solve this, we need to have the x equals on the same side. So we can isolate the x equals and get it by itself. So what I'm going to do is subtract 11x from both sides so that I end up with, on this side, 9 minus 11 is negative 2x is equal to negative 4. Then I need a little more space, so I'm going to continue up here. I have negative 2x is equal to negative 4. I need to get the x by myself, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Those cancel out, and I get that x is equal to 2, which is negative 4 divided by negative 2. Now my task is to check this. Is this true? If I put x equals 2 into this original equation, does it work? So is 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x equal to 4 times x plus 4 times x plus 3x minus 4. All right, if x equals 2, so that would be 3 times 2 plus 3 times 2 plus 3 times 2. Is that equal to 4 times 2 plus 4 times 2 plus 3 times 2 minus 4? So then 3 times 2 is 6, plus 3 times 2 is 6, plus 3 times 2 is 6. Is that equal to 8 plus 8 plus 6 minus 4? Well, 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. And 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 6 is 22, minus 4 is 18. 18 is equal to 18, so I know my answer is correct. So x has to be equal to 2. This is another question with a similar style to it. These two rectangles have the same perimeter. Determine the value of x that will make it true. So what I'm going to do for this question is I'm going to set you up, but I'm not going to solve it for you. We'll go over other examples of how to solve these, and then you can come back to this one and see if you can solve it on your own. So the perimeter around the outside of this rectangle, this one here, it says that this long side is 6x, so that means that this side must also be 6x. One side is 2x and the other side is 2x. It's the same with our other rectangle. This side must be 3x plus 2, and this side must be 3x plus 1. So that means that 2x plus 6x plus 2x plus 6x must be equal to 3x plus 2 plus 3x plus 1 plus 3x plus 2 plus 3x plus 1. I'm going to leave it there, and I challenge you to take a look at it on your own and see if you can just solve for x. Okay, here's another example. It says solve and check. We have 5x minus 2 is equal to 8x plus 7. So what I need to do is isolate so that I have all my variables on one side. And then all my numbers on the other side. So I'm going to use a bit of color coding. Here's an x, and then number and number. I like to always have my x's on the left-hand side because I think it's a little easier to look at, but it doesn't really matter if you choose to put the x's on this side or if you want to put the x's on this side. In this case, I'm going to put the x's on the left. So my first step is well, let's get rid of this 2. So we're going to add 2 to both sides here. That will cancel this out, and I'll be left with 5x is equal to 8x plus 9. My next step is to try and, I've got my numbers all on one side, but I need to get my variables on one side. So I'm going to subtract 8x from both sides. That cancels these out, and I'm left with negative 3x equals 9. Well, then I need to isolate the x, so I need to divide both sides by negative 3. And I'll get that x is equal to negative 3. Then I need to check and make sure my answer is correct. 5x minus 2 equals 8x plus 7, and my x is negative 3. So is 5 times negative 3 minus 2, is that equal to 8 times negative 3 plus 7? Well, 5 times negative 3 is negative 15 minus 2. Is that equal to negative 24 plus 7? And negative 15 minus 2 is going to give me negative 17. Is that equal to negative 24 plus 7? Well, that's going to be negative 17. So I know that these two are equal. Negative 17 is equal to negative 17. So my answer must be correct. Let's do another example. In this example, I have y's on either side, and I have brackets here. So my first step is going to be to distribute this 3 out. So I'd have 6y minus 3 is equal to negative y plus 5. My next goal is to get my y's on one side and my numbers on the other side. So let's start with the numbers. I'm going to add 3 to get rid of this 3 and add 3 to both sides. So I'll have 6y is equal to negative y plus 8. And these two canceled out. Now I need to get all my y's on one side. So I have minus y on this side here. So I'm going to add y to both sides so that these two cancel out. And I end up with 7y is equal to 8. Then I need to get y by itself, so I'll divide both sides by 7. And I'll get that y is equal to 8 over 7. You could rewrite this as a mixed number if you wanted and have it as 1 and 1/7. You could also try and write it as a decimal, but I'm going to leave it. I'll leave it as 1 and 1/7. Then I need to check my answer and see if it's correct. So is 3 times 2y minus 1 equal to negative y plus 5 if we say y is equal to 8 over 7? My first step here is to look inside my brackets and do order of operations inside there. So I'll have 3, and then I have 2 times 8 over 7, which is going to give me 16 over 7 minus 1. Is that equal to negative 8 over 7 plus 5? All right, negative 16 over 7 minus 1 is going to be equal to 16 over 7 minus 7 over 7. You can do this on a calculator too if you want. So Sometimes I find it easier just to do it this way. So when I do 16 minus 7, I'm going to get 9. So I'll have 3 times 9 over 7. Is that equal to 8 over 7 plus 5? Well, 3 times 9 over 7 is going to give me 3 and 6 sevenths. When I do 8 sevenths plus 5, I've forgotten to write my negative sign here, and it's made me make a mistake. So make sure that you've got your negative signs there to help you. So it's negative 8 over 7 plus 5 ends up giving me 3 and 6 sevenths. So I know that my answer is correct. Let's do one more. Now this one has fractions in it. But remember, whenever you see a problem like this and you see a fraction, don't panic. Just pretend it was a normal number and think of what would I do if that was just a 2 there. So I have a quarter plus 3 halves times k is equal to 9 fourths times k minus 5 halves. My first step is to get my variables on one side and my numbers on the other. So let's get rid of this quarter first. So let's subtract each side by a quarter. So on this side I'll end up with 3 halves k is equal to 9 quarters k, and then I have negative 5 halves minus a quarter, and that gives me negative 2 3/4. Then my goal is to get all my k's on one side, so I'm going to subtract 9 quarters k from both sides. So 3 halves minus 9 quarters is equal to negative 3/4 k. That's equal to negative 2 3/4. So this is 3/4 times k. So to get rid of it, I'm going to divide each side by 3/4. So negative 2 3/4 divided by negative 3/4 is equal to 3 2/3. So now I need to do my check. And I start again with my question of 1/4 plus 3 halves k is equal to 9 quarters k minus 5 halves. So now I'm going to substitute in my value of k. So I have 1/4 plus 3 halves times 3 2/3. Is that equal to 9 quarters times 3 2/3 minus 5 halves? So my first step is, oh, there's my question mark. My first step is to multiply. So I have 1/4 plus 3 halves times 3 2/3. So I have a quarter plus 5 1/2. Is that equal to 9 quarters times 3 2/3? So I have 8 1/4 minus 5 halves. Okay, so now I have 8 1/4 minus 5 halves. It's already on my calculator, so I'm just going to do it. That is going to give me 5 3/4. And I have to see, is that equal to 1/4 plus 5 1/2? I could see that it would be correct. So 5 3/4 is equal to 5 3/4, which means that my answer is correct. Those are all the examples I'm going to do for now. Go back to the second one and see if you can solve it. Again, if you have any questions, please ask me. I'm here to help you. I'll talk to you later.